wartime requirements of more than 5 million tons per year, it is apparent that the steel industry became directly dependent on the availability of merchant shipping. Thus, the state of health of steel production could be said to be directly dependent on the operation of United States submarines.
Japan's chief supply of oil came from America in the years prior to the war. Therefore, since the war started, our water requirements, which amounted to about 5 million tons a year, had to be supplied mostly from the Dutch East Indies. One of the decisive factors in our defeat was the activities of American submarines, which cut off the supply from that source entirely.
Our records show that about 36% of the major vessels, larger than destroyers, were lost to the United States submarines.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Yes, it was up to the submarines. At that time, we had exactly 51 submarines in the Pacific, and that included 12 of the old S-class. Small and slow, but they gave a good account of themselves. On December 15th, 8 days after Pearl Harbor, American subs drew their first blood. The Swordfish was cruising off Hainan Island in the South China Sea. On the radio, they could hear the voice of a Japanese woman speaking faultless English. Later, she was become famous as Tokyo Rose.
We know very well that American submarines have headed west from Pearl Harbor. If American submariners are wise, you will turn back. Certain death awaits you over here. And now I'll play for you unfortunate Americans a popular recording.
One week after Pearl Harbor, the Atsutsusan Maru, 8,663 tons, became the first victim of an American sub. A dubious honor. It wasn't long before she had plenty of company at the bottom of the ocean. On the 1st of January, the 5,384-ton Tainan Maru was sunk right off the very coast of Japan. But those early days were tough. Just look at the vast amount of territory the Japs overran in no time at all. Naturally, they wanted to consolidate. Keep all that loot from the conquered territories pouring into Japan. Fuel, oil, rubber, coal, iron, rice. It was our job to see that most of that loot didn't get there. And for 18 months, our subs were the only ships that penetrated enemy-controlled sea lanes. It was rugged, but it paid off. Let the Japs tell you about it.
American submarines in 1942 sank 134 Japanese merchant ships, totaling 580,000 or 390 tons and 140,000 tons of men of war. But that was only beginning.
Yes, only the beginning. Even newly commissioned subs got big scores. For instance, the Trigger. Her story starts in Mare Island.
That's the way she looked to me the first time I ever saw her. I was reported mess attendant. Cost me officers cook first class time I was transferred. She didn't look like nothing much to me right then. Just a lot of pipe and steel. No life, no spirit. But I felt a little better when I saw the galley. Small, but clean. The latest in devices. A man sure could get a mess of cooking done in there. But all in all, I sure felt let down. I said to myself, man, what possessed you to volunteer for the subservice anyhow? Next time you keep your big mouth shut. I began to feel a little better, though, about the trigger when we got underway. There was just something about it. Well, by the time we reached Pearl, the trigger and me was friends. She sure won me over. How'd you do it? Well, I tell you, shippers. Well, it's like our exec says. He says,
I don't find it any easier than the steward to put into words what I feel about the trigger. I think it's that all ships have souls, and all sailors know it. But it takes a while to learn to commune with it. It took me quite some time. But when it happened, it was our first patrol and our first kill. Off the eastern coast of Kyushu, a good-sized freighter.
Clear the bridge. Take her down before we're spotted. That baby might mount enough guns to blast us to kingdom come. Take her down. Execute, sir. Now, let's take a look to see if she spotted us. Everything looks normal from here. If it isn't a trap. She might be a Q ship carrying depth charges and sound gear. We can't hit her till we close the range. To close the range, we've got to watch out that she doesn't see or hear us, or the killer will become the corpse. The minutes seem like hours until we get into position. Easy. Easy. Then, estimated range 1,500 yards, track 90 port. Tower angle 5 left, stand by. He's coming on, fire 1. Then, 8 seconds, fire 2.
Trigger had come of age, but she was soon to face her first ordeal. Depth charging. Destroyer left the scene confident he had sunk us. For several nights later, we heard Tokyo Rose on our radio.
I regret to inform all American submarines that one of their number has recently fallen victim to a destroyer of the Imperial Japanese Navy. You will hear an appropriate recording.
Down periscope. Up periscope. Down periscope. Look, man, this is a jackpot. We've got the biggest aircraft carrier I've ever seen up here, plus 2 destroyers. We're going to shoot our whole wad at the carrier. Up periscope. Bearing, mark 329. Range, mark 6100. Down periscope. Angle on the bow, starboard 15. Right full rudder.
Right, full rudder.
All ahead 2/3.
All ahead 2/3.
New course 240.
New course 240.
What's the distance to the track? 1700. Control 63 feet.
Control 63 feet.
Forward torpedo room, make ready all tubes.
Forward torpedo room, make ready all tubes.
Set depth 12 feet.
Set depth 12 feet.
Rig for silent running.
Rig for silent running.
Rig for depth charge.
Rig for depth charge.
Steady on 250. All ahead 1/3.
All ahead 1/3.
How much time I got?
None, sir. Torpedo run 1100. Range about 1600. Gyro 005 increasing. Shoot any time.
Stand by forward.
Stand by forward.
Watch periscope. Check bearing and shoot. Bearing. Mark. 345. Down periscope. Set. Fire.
Fire 1. 1 fired, sir.
Fire.
Fire 2. 2 fired.
Fire.
Fire 3. 3 fired.
Set. Fire.
Fire 4. The trigger, of course, was subjected to another terrific depth charge. There were moments when no one on board thought she'd come through, but she stood up and eventually got away. The carrier just managed to crawl back to Tokyo Bay, badly crippled. The trigger was lost in March 45 off the Ryukyus. At that time, she was one of the highest-ranking subs in tonnage and total number of ships sunk. The trigger will never be forgotten, nor will the work of all our other submarines.
In 1943, 284 Japanese ships, totaling 1,341,968 tons, plus about 100,000 tons of warships were sunk by American submarines.
Naturally, they got some of our subs too, but our losses weren't excessive when you consider what was accomplished. In fact, they were quite small compared to the losses of the Jap and German submarine services. But we felt deeply each individual loss. For instance, take the case of the Sculpin.
On 19 November 1943, we sighted a fast convoy and made an attack. Their screen detected us and immediately subjected us to depth charging. Things were getting tough when we heard a range fall.